or nothing. It's just a output saying that application for safe and secure certification. Your response has been recorded. So my advice to our dear colleagues and members is once you submit, it's always better you call the tourism authorities and double check whether they have got your application, because we assume that you have applied and we have got a document like this, but there is no reference number, no name, nothing. So it's always advisable once you apply, call them and check with them whether they have got your application. And once you apply, you will get, once you apply, you will get a mail from KPMG saying that they have got it and the way they are going to do this process. In that mail, they will tell that there will be a desktop review and also there will be an on-site assessment. But the problem with this mail is it doesn't give any timelines or anything. I mean, the mail what we got. I mean, now I don't know whether they have changed their policies and procedures or way of doing. But the mail what I got from KPMG didn't mention by which date we should submit our documentation. So I called them and I asked from them when should we supposed to hand over all these documents you have requested. The response was within 7 days. So I told them clearly that it's difficult. So I requested 11 days. My advice for you all is, if in case in your mail, if they have not mentioned a date, please call and check. And you don't always have to adhere to what they say about the deadline, but you can tell, okay, this is the feasible date. So you can ask, say, 2 weeks, 14 days. Probably you will get it, because I mean, you don't have to rush for this process, then you can do it comfortably. As soon as we get this mail from KPMG, and as soon as we see the documents they have asked, and as soon as we see the document, this is the first mode we get into. And also, I asked one of my managers to go through it, and she had the same kind of feeling. CEO, how are we going to do this? They have asked many documents. Can we prepare all these documents within the given timeline? But I can understand the rationale behind our worries, and I can understand why we are so upset or worried about this process, is because the number of instructions given or the expectation has not been explained properly in any of these documents. So if you can see, there are only 7 instructions given to us to fill this big document and to do all our documentation. Whereas, as you know, that if you go to a village council to get a street line certificate, they will give you a bigger instruction sheet to fill that street line certificate application than this. So I can understand the worry what you have and what my manager had when I asked her to, start the process. So if I look at this application sent by them, it's an Excel sheet. There is a basic information tab. In that you have to put your basic company information, and there is another tab whereas we have to give general information, especially inside our company, how we keep our safety protocols and safety procedures. And then tab 2, which is page 2, and 3 is more about operational, and under tab 3 the point 5 is more about post-war measures. So this is basically about it. But don't worry, as industry, we have done even bigger things before. As we have done, I'm sure all of us we will be able to achieve, and we will all be able to get the certification, because they are not talking a rocket science. It's a matter of putting a time and effort and preparing documents and filling the application properly, then we can achieve it. There is no problem. If you ask my advice or my personal experience of getting this certification successfully, my first advice is to establish a team for the certification process. For example, in our office, I got my operations manager, my transport department manager, my marketing department manager, and HR member from HR department, and we established a team and we assigned jobs to each and every team member in order to fill this form and to see whether we have documents which are requested by the KPMG. But same time, the NCAR size is not the same as other company size. For example, say if you think about Aitken Spence or Workers, then it's a different size, different structure. Also, there are companies whereas smaller structures, smaller ways, smaller capacity. So that is okay. But basically, within your company, you can identify few people for this application process. The second advice I want to share with you is we should understand KPMG. The most important thing you should understand is KPMG, they don't know, or KPMG, they do not know tourism. So the staff there, they don't understand what is tourism. So you should be able to present your documents, or at the site inspection, you should be able to convince them and explain them what our business is all about. Because what KPMG looking at is the documentation. I mean, being a university lecturer and working for some consultancy company, I know these companies are mainly looking at policies, procedures, and documents. They like to see documents. So they want to see documents, but as tourism professionals, we know the practical side of it. So how to match their expectation, document expectation, and our practical side is a challenge here. So it is very important that in this context. The second thing is, I want to tell you in this questionnaire, please do not leave any question unanswered. Please don't do that. So please answer all the questions in the document. The fourth and important advice I want to give you here, or experience I want to share with you here, is provide supporting documents as much as possible. As I told you before, any consultancy company, they like to see documents, right? So in this context, what you can do is whatever the documents you have, provide as much as possible. But same time, this does not necessarily mean that you have to provide a different document for each and every question that they have asked. In your company, you may have 3 documents, 4 documents, 5 documents, maximum 10 documents, 12 documents related to this. So use those limited documents to answer all these questions. That's absolutely fine. You don't have to create different documents to answer all these different types of questions. And again, I want to explain you here what is the objective of Tourism Development Authority and KPMG. They just basically want to check whether we are ready to operate in a post-COVID situation, whether our office has got operational guideline document or operational procedure document. As far as we have documented that, that is fine. That is absolutely fine. But in that document, we have to have a 360-degree operation covering all the aspects of our business. So when we talk about operation, the main thing which comes to our mind is starting from the airport, ending from the airport. But in here, they expect much more. They expect health and safety procedures of our office, as well as health and safety procedures which we have communicated with our clients. So these documents need to start from the client or our agents in overseas, and then the tour operation together with the office. So that's why I mentioned here, this operational document need to cover our office, our agents, tour leaders and chauffeurs, drivers and bus helpers, other suppliers such as boat suppliers, jeep suppliers, and hotel suppliers, etc., etc. So our document need to cover all the important aspects or parts of our operation. So the next question is, excuse me. Sorry. The next question is, for this, are we going to do one document or many documents? So actually, if you can do one document, I mean, you can do this in one document. You can have a comprehensive operational procedure, operational guideline document in your office. You may have already done it in your office. But my advice is, knowing the psychology of KPMG, knowing how people are assessing things, you can segregate that document into small parts, having that big document to address different areas. For example, you can have in the main document, you can have you can take one out and set one only for our office procedures, how we are going to operate our office in this COVID situation. You can have one document covering the procedures and protocols for our tour leaders, chauffeurs, drivers and helpers and other suppliers. You can have one for the hotels and one for what we communicate with our agents or clients. So you can have about 4 or 5 different types of document. End of the day, you can, if you want to, you can put into one document. So now the next problem is how to prepare them. So now I just mentioned you that we need about good 5 to 6 or 7 to 8 documents. Now automatically it comes to your mind from where to start. To be honest with you, there are many resources available. Actually, there are documents already available for us to use. For example, Health Ministry, if you can remember last July, I suppose, or no, not last July, last April or May came out with a comprehensive document with all the operational procedures. It has a lot of many other relevant things for us as an industry, but you can take relevant parts from that document for this process. It has how we should operate office in this COVID context. So you can take that. In that document, you have some instructions for tour operators. So you can take that part as well for your procedure document. And if you look at the second document, the document which is issued by SLTDA has comprehensive detailed information about our operation. So again, this is going to be an important resourceful document for you to prepare document. So what you can do is you are going to present this document as it is. What you can do is you can extract the important points and you can produce own documents for your office. You can produce own document for yourself as operational documents. And if you look at this third document, which is start with IBON, this document was produced as you know, we all expected airport opening on 1st of August. For that, just before that, there was a document came out with what kind of things we are going to do from 1st of August in terms of getting PCR tests back in the country, at the airport, and staying close to the airport at the first night. All that instructions and guidelines are there in that document. Also, the fourth document is, I have just only taken a sample document, whereas you can see almost all the big hotels in Sri Lanka has issued operational guideline document. So what we did as NCAR, we collected all these hotel operational procedure documents, and we prepared one document taking almost all the hotels have the same thing, but taking that, putting the missing parts, we did our own one, so that became our hotel operational procedures, which we could in return inform our agents about it. So almost all these documents are available. Further, this is the latest one which came out last night, the Hahu of opening the airport on the 1st of January. So there is a new document has come out with policies and procedures and steps. So you can use this document as well in order to prepare your operational guideline document. And further, still if you are lacking or trying to find more details, of course, www World Wide Web is a fantastic resource, good friend of us. So you can always use and get help from this as well in order to prepare your documents. And then once you prepare documents, I just put this slide for you to share with you. Once you prepare the documents, so you have to send on the day you promised that you are going to send. And in that document, what I'm just trying to say, you know what I'm trying to say here. Don't put all these attachments in one mail. Definitely the mail is going to be bounced back. So please just put the basic Excel sheet and the basic information PDF sheet and send it, and tell that you are going to send all the supporting documents in next few mails. Use 2-3 mails to send your supporting documents. In that way, your main mail is delivered without any problem. Now we are in the second stage, how to fill the application and giving supporting documents. This is pretty much boring, I would say, stuff I'm going to do now with you, because I'm going to take you through each and every question, which is boring stuff. But I will do that with you. So the first, this sheet, we have to, you can't fill online. You have to take a printout of this and you have to attach as a separate document. And from this page onwards, you can fill on the Excel sheet, and you can, then start filling and keep going. Now, if you look at the general part, so there are about 3 questions under general questions. They are mainly talking about office operation, and some questions are actually ambiguity situation with some questions, but let's try to understand. So if you look at the 1.1 question, is there a procedure, list of instructions or similar document which has been introduced and circulated on COVID-19 safe and secure measures to be followed? So they ask, if yes, please attach a guideline. So as I told you, don't keep anything blank, don't say no to anything. We have to prepare documents, and you have to say, I suggest not I'm ready, you have to, so it's always best to say yes and prepare documents for that. So our answer was, we have summarized the guideline documents of Health Ministry, which I just showed to you, and created one for income. And we have shared that with all our agents. So together with that, what we have done is we attached that summarized document which we extracted from Health Ministry document. We just showed it as a supporting document. Also, we just shared with them the mail we sent to our agents and our staff summarizing that. For example, say, by the time you are applying, if you have not done, still you can do that. Still you can forward it to your agents, then you have a documentary evidence. Still you can forward it to your managers. You can attach those mails also as evidence to show that you have actively done so. If you go to the second question, 1.2, is there an awareness program conducted on Ministry of Health recommended procedures when operating under COVID-19 conditions? If yes, provide evidence of awareness program. So basically in here, what they expect, what you have done in your office, are you following COVID protocols within your office premises? So our answer was yes. What we have done here, our HR department has sent out a mail indicating all the procedures to be followed before opening the office in May. Attach number 7, we attach that mail we sent to HR department, sent to our office. And the content of the mail was driven through a Zoom meeting by CEO once the office opened in May. If you think about here, if we mention here, actually we conducted a Zoom meeting. If we mention here, we had a meeting to conduct this, that itself shows that we have not followed health protocol. So it's very important to show KPMG, even within our office, we don't have big gatherings. We conduct Zoom meetings. So then they get the confidence automatically, okay, these people are serious about health and safety. Further, time to time, these protocols are brief department-wise. Why do we do department-wise? Because we don't want all the staff to come to one place. So we are doing it department-wise. Posters are displayed in key areas of office about health and safety. Sanitizers are placed for safety, and wearing mask is compulsory. I know all your organizations, all your staff are wearing masks, all your officers have sanitizers, all your office should have posters displayed in key areas. So what you can do in this kind of thing, just send them the photographs of them. Just send them the photograph of your sanitizers where you have kept. Just take the photographs of the posters you have displayed in your office. So they are your supporting documents to show them that you are following the health protocols within your office. Has your 1.3, has your organization developed a mechanism to manage COVID-19 suspected cases with collaboration with Ministry of Health and other local authorities? If yes, attach same. So the answer was yes. Comments? When we open the office twice a week, every morning we do shoe disinfection and temperature checking. So we have photos of that, we have attached them, and we have advised staff with fever, cough and cold not to attend the office. So we have sent them a mail, so we are attaching that mail copy as well. If any staff is identified with such symptoms, HR department staff have been trained on the process to handle. So that is that mail has been attached. There is an isolation room in our office if anyone feels sick, and HR department has been provided with emergency number, which is 1390, to inform the relevant authorities if something happens like that. So these things, I mean, easily you are implementing at the moment, I know for sure. If you are not doing, you can do that. I mean, you can easily give answers like this, because what they're asking is what we are doing in our office under this COVID situation. Excuse me. So the next, when we are coming to the next part, the second part, which is pre-identification of travel plans and arrangements. The question is 2.1. Do you have a standard communication material where you would request documents, information from a tourist prior to arrival to Sri Lanka to ensure health and safety compliance? If yes, provide a copy of communication material. So I think you can remember I showed you a document when the airport was about to open in 1st of August. They issued a document saying there should be a PCR test need to be done 48 hours before. There will be a PCR test done on arrival. First day they should stay somewhere close to Negombo. So if you have shared that with your agents, that is a very good first step or evidence for this question. Also, other than that, taking health authorities' instructions, as company, we have sent a checklist document. It's a one-page document, checking with our partners we have sent a basic checklist. Have you done PCR tests? Are your clients happy to wear masks during their stay in Sri Lanka? Will they bring sanitizers? Will they be wearing a mask? Will they happy to follow health and safety guidelines in Sri Lanka? If something happens, we would like to inform you that we will send them back. We will not continue the tour. And if they get infected, are they ready to go for 14 days quarantine period? Have you got your insurance policy ready? So all those things we have put into one document, and we have prepared a one checklist document for our agents. So they have to fill that and send to us before the group arrivals. That means they have understood and realized and agreed before they send clients to Sri Lanka. So you can prepare a similar document, then that would be the answer for this question. The next question is 2.2. Do you have a formal process to communicate the guest to revise the travel plan in the event of non-compliance? If yes, please attach a guidance given to staff members. So I just explained you that we have done a checklist document which have been shared with our partners, saying that they should be adhere to the rules and regulations of the country, they should wear masks, they should keep the social distancing, they can't use public transport. That same document, if you have shared with your staff, then you have answered this question as well. So there is no problem. You are using the same documents multiple times as answers. So you can use, even us, we have used the same document sometimes more than 5 or 6 times. There is no problem doing that. So the next question, 2.3, do you have health and safety checklist you would provide to tourists before they arrive to Sri Lanka? If yes, provide a copy of health and safety checklist. So again, this is the same thing they are asking. So for that, our answer was, we do have checklist. Then we are attaching our checklist. And the 2.4, the next question is, do you have an approved policy which states that guests who are visiting Sri Lanka shall stay their first night within first 20? The answer for that question is, we have informed all our agents that first night accommodation should be close to the airport, as on arrival PCR test release only on the following day. In most of our tours, the first night is anyway close to the airport. If not, we have informed our agents to change the itinerary to facilitate this. So if you have any mail, you can attach here informing if you have sent a mail informing your agents that first night needs to be close to the airport. If you have not sent a mail, even now you can send a mail and attach it because you have not applied it. So after applying it, if you send a mail, then KPMG can ask something. But if you have sent the mail and attach it, there is no problem. So you have done the correct thing. The next question, 2.5. Is your front-end team who communicate with tourists have been instructed to arrange facilities only with SLTD registered establishment who are safe and secure? Answer is yes. So our answer was, top management has taken a decision to use safe and secure certified hotels for all our bookings, which has been communicated to our staff as well. So basically, of course, if the SLTD expectation is for us to use safe and secure establishment, yes, we will do that. So we can take a management decision. You can, if you don't have mail evidence, you can say, yes, we have taken a decision only to use safe and secure establishment. Or if you have a mail, you can tell this, we have a mail informing about this to our staff and our agents. Or you can send a mail and attach it as a copy. This is what we have done. We have informed our staff. we have informed our agents that we are going to use only safe and secure certified hotels. Now we are coming to the third part of the question here, management responsibility for tourists and their movement. 3.1, are you allocating only SLTDA registered and certified tour guides, national guides, chauffeur guides, area guides, or city guides and other staff for your tours? Of course, answer is yes. I know all our Slido members are using registered chauffeurs and national guides. So without a problem, you can say yes to it. And also you can elaborate a little bit. Yes, we are allocating SLTDA registered guides and chauffeurs. Our operations department is sourcing all our national guides and department maintains file for that. And I want to share another information here with you. You may already know. Now with this certification process, now there is a new thing, whereas even our tour leaders and guides and our chauffeurs also need to obtain the certification. So I think at the time they prepared this, that was not there, or that was not their focus. Because of that, they have not asked the question in such a way, telling that whether they have got the safety certificate issued by KPMG or SLTDA. They are asking whether we are using a registered and certified guides, but the answer is yes, that's what we have been doing all this time. Do you have a registered mechanism to onboard the tour crew? Of course, we have a registration mechanism. That's how we recruit our crew. So the answer is we have operations department responsible sourcing all our national guides, and they maintain a file for that. Our transport department source chauffeurs and other guides, and they maintain reports for that. Basically, what we need to do, answer here is whether they are asking whether we have a registration process. Keep in mind, when they come here for the on-site inspection, they ask to produce and show those files, and you can show this is the file we are maintained to register all our tour leaders, this is the file we maintain to register our chauffeurs, this is the file we maintain to register all our transport suppliers, buses, cars, minivans, microvans, etc., etc. Then you know that what we mentioned here we can prove on-site at the on-site inspection. 3.3, have you communicated all crew to record and inform if they show symptoms of COVID-19? So this is the question. Now I want to share with you here. We did 3 documents with regard to our suppliers. Basically what we did was we made a document for all our tour leaders and guides. These are the protocols and procedures we follow from the time they arrive to Sri Lanka until their departure. How you greet them, how you maintain the distance, all that is clearly mentioned, especially the briefing. Briefing is very important. All that is clearly mentioned in that document. So that we did through our operations department with regard to guides and tour leaders. We did another document for our chauffeurs, bus drivers, and bus helpers. It's another document. And also we did a third document that is for all our suppliers, like boat suppliers, jeep drivers. It's again one-page small documents instructing them, explaining them how you should operate in this context. So we have 3 different documents. So in our documents, it's clearly mentioned, especially the document we prepared to guides, it clearly explains if any client show the symptoms, what they should do, In that document, we have given the emergency numbers. We have told them first you should inform the office, then the health authorities, then the operators. All that procedure has been explained in that, how to isolate the passenger, that particular client from the rest of the group, how to continue, or whether the entire group is going to be isolated or quarantined. So all that is clearly mentioned in that document. So if you have that kind of a document, as I explained you, 3 different documents, if you have much better. After that, you can put 3 documents together, so you can easily answer this question. How do you, the 3.3, how do you educate the tourists about the COVID-19 safety measures to be taken during their stay till the departure from Sri Lanka? So as I told you, we have done a document for tour leaders and bus drivers and bus helpers, as well as another document for other suppliers such as boat suppliers and jeep suppliers. So all these documents, we have explained what to do. So especially in our guide document, we have highlighted the briefing. Briefing is very important. So on the first day, we need to give clear instruction, clear briefing. In that briefing, you have to educate our clients what they should do, how they should behave in Sri Lanka, adhering to the rules and regulations of Sri Lanka and the health protocols. So we can say yes to it. So answer was, prior to the arrival, all the clients will be educated using the health and safety guideline document, which we have already sent to our agents. The tour leaders are being trained to educate the clients about the general guidelines. During tour briefing upon arrival, prior to tour begins, basic safety measures guidelines will be displayed using the illustrated posters. So we are basically displaying the posters and signs in the buses. Then they can see them while they are touring as well. 3.4, is there a health and safety checklist you would instruct your tour crew to be followed while on tour? If yes, please provide a copy of health and safety checklist. So our answer was yes, and our answer was yes, we have one. But I would say the manager who has been filling this was tired by the time we got to 3.4, the third page. I think we would have illustrated this a bit more. Yes, we have a document which instruct tour crew to follow while they are on tour. A long answer would be much better than my answer or our answer, yes, we have one. You know what I mean? So it's always better to be nice and explanatory and give information as much as possible. In this instance, I'm not happy with the answer which we have given. The fourth one and the last part of this questionnaire is, do you check and maintain the copies of PCR reports obtained by your tour crew? Answer was yes. How frequently do you obtain reports from each person? We just put monthly, to be honest with you. Are the reports available for verification of SLTDA with you? Yes. I mean, this is a situation where we have not seen or we have not done, and whereas at the time where we don't have any clue when we did, this was last September, we didn't have any clue when is the airport going to open. So in that kind of a context, it is very difficult to answer this kind of a question. But we can say, yes, we will do it. We are planning to one monthly. Yes, we will make the reports ready. So our answer was, once the airport opens and once the tourists start coming in, we are planning to take PCR tests. Until then, we can't tell anything about it. We can't commit. So our answer was, once the airport opens and once the tourists start coming in, we are planning to take PCR tests for all our tour leaders. As planned, we will only allocate guides and chauffeurs after a negative PCR test, which will be done once the airport opening is announced and 2 days prior to client arrival. Again, the fourth one, the 4.4, a list of items that tourists should carry while on tour. If yes, provide the checklist. So we say yes, and again we share the same document, the checklist document we sent to agents, as well as we shared here the other document, which is the briefing we have sent to, or checklist we have sent to our tour leader. The next question, are you providing digital infrared thermometers to the selected crew members in order to check the temperature of the guests during the tour? Yes. So the answer is, in our guidelines, we have mentioned that tour crew should check the temperature daily. Each vehicle will have a thermometer. Apart from that, hotels will also check the temperature while check-in. And again, we have given the checklist what we prepared. 4.6 are the interior of vehicles which are used to transport guests are being sanitized? If yes, explain. We said yes. So again, to sanitize vehicle, to give them instructions, at the time we didn't see when is the airport going to open, when is it going to happen. So our answer was, when the airport opens and tourists starts coming in, this will be done. So what we can tell here is only our plan. So that is we have given. So then there is the last part is coming in now only, sorry. So the last part is post-tour measures. Do you have a list of procedures a tour crew should follow at the end of the tour? Answer is yes. So we attached the document which we have prepared as guidelines for our drivers, our guides and our chauffeurs. And so that is about the Excel sheet. I'm just sharing this with you again, assuming this is important when you are submitting your documents. Because please remember, when you submit documents, for example, in our case, we submit about 28 documents. So when you bombard with 28 documents, they don't know which one is what, etc., etc. So we just send this extra document, attachment 1, the name of the document and basic content summary, and it relates to which questions. So then when they get this document, they know each document related to what. So I suggest you, when you are submitting documents, to send this kind of a document, so that will make their life also easy, and in the same way they understand that you are a professional outfit. And once you hand over your documents, after that you get an on-site assessment date. This is very, very important. You have to prepare for this on-site assessment day. You have to prepare entire office for this day, because this is the day what you are going to show what you have already documented. So now you have done the documents. By now you have a box file full of documents with the form you did, ready for this on-site inspection. Now when the day they arrive, please prepare your entire office. So assume when the inspector, the KPMG representative come in, say that you normally used to check the temperature every day, or you disinfect the shoes. So unfortunately, by the time this inspector comes or the KPMG staff comes, that person is missing at the reception area. Then you are making unnecessary situation. You had a chance to prove that you are professional, you miss that opportunity. When you are coming in, your staff are stacking together and having a chat or having lunch together, then you are giving impression to the KPMG staff that you are not practicing what you have mentioned in your document. And once they come in to your office, you can see some staff wearing a mask improperly or wearing a mask to their mouth. Then you are giving unnecessary impression that you are a professional or you are practicing. So likewise, as soon as you see him, you do a handshake because you welcome him. Again, you are upsetting. So you can say "I-born" to show that you are concerned about health and safety protocol. So try to use this on-site assessment inspection to show that you are professional as much as possible. Make all the documents ready, show them, and conduct a friendly meeting and prove you are a professional entity. You handling, because already tourism, it's your bread and butter. This is, we can easily execute that and, just prove yourself. And after the on-site assessment, once they go back to their office, they will send if they have any further clarification. For example, from us, they had a clarification about physical distancing because the health guideline document, it says 1 meter, but SLTD document, it says 1.5 meters. So they want us to have a 1.5 meter thing in all our documents. So we change it accordingly. And also they have asked about formal training. We clearly told them and answered, we are not going to do a training to our staff and guides until we know the date of airport opening. 2 weeks before only we will do the training. Otherwise, by the time they will forget everything. That is about the training that we told them at the on-site inspection. We mentioned that clearly again at the end. Again, they asked about digital thermometer. They told us that you have only 2. We told them no point investing money to buy digital thermometer at this stage. We will buy them when they announce the airport opening day and when the operation starts. Once you do that, you will get the certification. But getting the certification is not only the thing. You have to, now you have a document. You have obtained your certificate. You have to practice this. You have to maintain this. Now, once you get it, I got the certificate and put that file into your cupboard and forget about it. No, you have to maintain, update, practice, and keep it going. So once you do that, I think it's a successful thing. I hope I shared something important, but keep in mind, this doesn't necessarily mean what I did or what Nalin or Darshan is going to talk. By doing that, you definitely get the certificate, but I'm sure with your professionalism, with your experience, you should be able to get it. I hope this information sharing session, which I did, is useful. Or I hope it is not this kind of situation, or if in case if you got rejected, you will come out with something like this. Anyway, again, everyone, thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you very much, like, to organizing this for the membership, and to the president, the executive committee, and especially the Bobby. She has been talking and telling me, Damien, we should do this for the industry. There are a lot of industry people who are struggling. We can't afford to pay 50,000. So I should thank her as well. And also my MD, Mr. Nanakkara, who told me, Damien, we should do this for the industry. And he actually not requested, he pushed me to do this. And he requested me, Damien, anyhow, we should help the industry. Also, I should say thank you to my staff, especially who are here with me, the Brian and Sandeepa, being here with me and supporting me. Thank you very much, everyone, again. All the best.